All right, welcome to Inside Independent Publishing with IBPA. I'm your host, Christopher Locke. I am also the IBPA Director of Membership and Member Services. So I have a quick announcement. Coming up on May 4th through 6th, we have IBPA Publishing University. It's an incredible conference for independent publishers and author publishers, and because we appreciate you listening to this podcast, we're going to give you a 15% discount code. Now, that is going to be somewhere in this podcast, so just listen and watch, and make sure then to also visit publishinguniversity.org for all the conference details. All right, let's get on to the episode. So, garnering a trade review can be excellent help for your books, but how can you make the most out of the reviews you receive? Should you get a paid trade review? And is there anything positive that you can get from a negative review? BlueInk Review co-founder Patti Thorn will answer these questions and many more on today's episode. Welcome, Patti. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Christopher. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. All right. So I briefly want to just ask, can you say, what is a trade review? I know there's a lot of different types of reviews, so I just wanted to clarify for the listeners.
Well, I guess the main thing is a lot of people have come to think of reviews as the kind of reviews you get on Amazon.com where, maybe your friends will post and your family or, people that aren't really professionals in whatever field it is. But what we're talking about today would be trade reviews, which would be reviews from professional organizations that, are done by people who are well-versed in the subject matter, the genre, good wordsmiths. It's just basically a review that has the backing of a professional organization.
Yeah, sure. And of course, you're from BlueInk Review. So what are some of the other major trade publications that people can look out for?
Publishers Weekly, Kirkus, Booklist, and then that would be trade publications. But you can also you'll see reviews from major publications like New York Times or Washington Post. What am I missing?
Ford Reviews is another really great one for independent publishers.
Of course, yeah.
All right, and then now, kind of the most important thing: what is the importance of a publisher getting a trade review?
Yeah, well, I was going to talk a little bit about reviews in general. Great. Some people don't really understand the power that a review could have. And I just wanted to read a couple of really good lines from some of our reviews to show you, how that can really help sell your book. These are sort of last lines from reviews. For example, this is a stand-up and applaud science fiction thriller. If this installment is any indication, the third novel should be spectacular. Another one would be, if writers like Isaac Asimov, Edgar Rice Burroughs, and Arthur C. Clarke were alive today, they'd be releasing stories like Denver Moon. Another one, in short, this is a must-read guide for women nearing the final stages of their careers. So, I think those illustrate pretty well how powerful a book a book review can be. If you want to approach libraries or booksellers and you come with a handful of your friends' reviews, that's going to do you no good at all. You want trade reviews, and that people in the industry know the credibility of these particular publications, and they look to those to make their book buying decisions. So trade reviews are super critical. Also, trade reviews are great for databases like, Ingram, the giant wholesaler, has big databases of books, and reviews are important in there because the more metadata you have in those entries, the higher your book will come up on a search. So if a librarian's looking for, say, a great book on gambling or dog grooming or something like that, there might be, hundreds of books on that topic. But if you have a lot of reviews and your book's getting a lot of good attention, your book is going to rise to the top of that search. So, that's a really practical reason. Also, trade reviews are more respected on sites like Amazon and Barnes and Noble. So if you if you look at the Barnes and Noble or Amazon page, the editorial reviews go in the sort of center of the page, and then the customer reviews are always sort of at the bottom of the page. That's because people give more credence to trade reviews. So people use excerpts from their book reviews in those spots, which give them a lot more pull in that case. Yeah, I think those are the main reasons why trade reviews are very important.
Yeah, and you mentioned bookstores and libraries, so I just want to drive that point home. So, from what I've heard, that sometimes they won't carry a book if it doesn't have like a respected trade review. They don't have time to read all of the books that are out there. So I don't know if you can talk more about that concept of like a bookseller and a librarian and all those, really relying on these trade reviews to let them know, okay, here's the good books out there. You can trust us as a source.
Yeah, right. I mean, you just said it basically. These people are super busy. There's hundreds of books that come out every week, really. And so they can't read these books. And you can't be naive to think that if you drop your book off at the library and say, hey, this is a great book, you're going to get anywhere. They need to know that someone's vetted it. And particularly when you're an independent author, you don't have a big publishing firm behind you to say, oh, we've looked at it. We think this is great. We're behind it. We've edited it. So you're going to need reviews, and booksellers. Yeah, but booksellers will ask you, well, what are your reviews? Some bookstores will allow you to put your book in their store on consignment or something like that. They'll take a couple of copies just to be nice to local authors. But if you want to do something on a grander scale, then you're going to need reviews to convince these people that your book's worthy of their time and attention.
Yeah, and then is there a certain amount, so let's say you just had one trade review, do you have a better chance of having 5, or is it not necessarily to have so many? I'm just looking to give people advice about how many they need to get.
Yeah, well, I think anybody who's a big reader will know that if you pick up a paperback book from a book that's been very successful in hardback, they'll have tons of excerpts of great reviews. So, they'll have maybe 3-4 pages. The more reviews you have, the more convincing it is that there's a consensus that this is a great book. So it's just like when you look at reviews on Amazon, and I think everybody's pretty well attuned to looking at how many, it might be 5 stars, but was that from 6 people or was that from 1,000? It's just that same mentality. The more, the better, really. That's the truth.
Yeah, sure. And you mentioned about the concept of a trade publication syndicating their reviews to places like Ingram. So I just want to see if you can explain that process of why it's important that these trade publications, those reviews show up on those other sites, and then how easy it is then that you as the publisher, you don't have to grab them and then put them on things like Ingram.
Well, you might know even more about this than I do, but basically, when your review is syndicated, it goes to these big databases, and the librarians and booksellers use these sites to order books. So they go on and they do their searches, and then they can immediately order the book. So they don't really like randomly ordering books from independent publishers. It's very hard. They like to order in bulk, and get all their work done in one-stop shopping, basically. So it's important that you're in those databases.
Sure, yeah. And also, I know that timing of trade reviews can be a big thing. Some of them require 6 months in advance and things like that. So just want to see if you have any advice about the timing of all these various trade reviews.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with the pre-dates that people need, but I do know as most will need at least 3 to 4 months, I would say. And some, you're right, might probably need 6 months. So you have to really plan ahead, and you have to know when your book's going to hit and when you want all your publicity to hit at the same time, so you get the most bang for your buck, right? So Yeah, I mean, you can't just sort of randomly go about doing it. You've got to have a schedule. You've got to backfill your schedule, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I mean, I would definitely start at 6 months just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, and sometimes I tell publishers that they should create some type of calendar. Look at all the major trade publications and go, okay, this one needs 3 months, this one needs six, and then you just all in one place. Now, oh, I know what my publication date is. I have to hit that mark in order to get that trade review done by the time that I'm going to need it to, get the word out about it. And it, of course, is better to have as many of those as possible, during that pre-publication process, so you're getting the word out to everyone and going, hey, look what BlueInk Review said about my book.
And not only that, but maybe you'll get excerpts that you can use on your book cover. If you haven't done the printing yet, or if you're doing print on demand, you can always put great excerpts on your book. So it's important for your book launch to have those. And, you were going to ask me later about how to use your review. So that's one of the very important things when you start your marketing at your book launch, to have those reviews.
Yeah, we could talk about that now. We can hop around. So, yeah, I mean, you're getting these reviews, but what are some of the really helpful ways that you can then now use that review rather than just being like, hey, look, my book got a great review. How can you use it to your best interest?
Right. Well, there's so many ways. What you just mentioned is not really an other than, it's like a really main big thing. So when authors, they'll read that they have to be on social media, and they have to, before their book comes out, kind of get a relationship with the audience on social media and just kind of be chit-chatty. And after a while, I think it gets really hard for you to, once you start publicizing your book, it's going to be hard for you to come up with new things to post, right? Like, book reviews are great for that. So every time you get a book review, you do that. You say, hey, I just got a big rave in Publishers Weekly, or, I got this unbelievable review from BlueInk. Click here to see the full review. So I think it's really, really important for social media. Established authors, you'll see that on their websites, they'll have maybe a book review or several book reviews from their latest book up on their website, the front page, usually excerpts. But anyone should do that. And if you're a first-time author, you'll want to put your excerpts maybe on the first page. If you have more than one book, a lot of people do book review tab. And so people can see all the book reviews from all the books they've had in the past. And I don't mean like a full review. I mean, you can have them click through for the full review, but probably just the most exciting excerpts from that. So that's really important, because people go to your website to decide if they're going to buy your book. Of course, you're going to want to use great excerpts on your book jacket, which I had just mentioned. If you can reprint, or if you're going to reprint, if you've already printed before you get the reviews, if you're going to reprint, you can use those excerpts on the back of your book, on the front of your book. That's really important, because people look to the back of books to see who's endorsing the book. And a lot of times independent authors will they'll have people they know kind of, that are kind of barely associated with that kind of book on the back of their cover, but those are pretty transparently people doing you a favor. So you want to have trade reviews on the back of your book if you can. On all of your marketing materials. So we had talked about doing a book launch. So when you're doing your book launch, you're going to want to have a press release. And professional New York houses, they have usually, really exciting excerpt at the top of the press release. So that catches an editor's eye, or somebody, whoever you're approaching, that you want them to pay attention to your book. You'll want to use the excerpt on the top of your press release. If you have a ton of reviews, you would attach a page or 2 pages with great excerpts on the back of the press release. You want to, if you're having any material swag, I guess you'd call it, if you're having any swag with like bookmarks or postcards or discount cards, you might want to put an excerpt of a review on there. It's great. It's really powerful marketing. Like if you remember the lines that I read you at the beginning of our talk, those are amazingly powerful things to put on your marketing materials. You can use reviews to create ads for your book. A lot of people do a thumbnail of their book cover along with a great excerpt, and it's really easy to make an ad that way, and also very effective. You can use your review to get more reviews. So I guess if you're the people you're approaching, if you're approaching without reviews, you're just saying, oh, I have this great book here, will you take a look? That's probably not going to get you real far. But if you say, hey, I just got this rave from PW, will you take a look at my book? They're more likely to look at it and then maybe review it. And then you have 2 reviews. And then now you have 2 reviews to say, hey, people are really excited about my book. Will you take a look? And as we said, the more the better. You can so it's like a rolling stone that gathers moss, gathers no moss, gathers moss. So, we talked about using it in the editorial sections of Barnes and Noble and Amazon, and that's really important. Another great way to use it is with your email signature. You put it on your email signature, just like a little snippet, a great snippet from a review. And if you think about in that way, you get it in front of people and you don't even have to really say anything. If you think about all the people you email day in and day out, that's a really great way to catch somebody's eye.
Sure. I'm all about boasting in all of my emails for my books. That's fine.
I know, you have to do it, right?
Yeah. Sincerely, Christopher Locke. Oh, my book is amazing. Just saying. Yeah.
But you have to do it, and it's really hard to do it, I think, don't you? I mean, I don't do it. I don't have books that I'm doing that for myself, but I find it hard to boast about yourself. But when you have it in your email signature, it's just there. You don't have to really
humble brag. Yeah.
You're exactly. Yes. So I mean, those are the main things that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm cutting into the interview real quick because I have a special surprise for all you podcast listeners out there. IBPA is excited about our upcoming IBPA Publishing University on May 4th through 6th, 2023 in Coronado, California, which is just outside San Diego, California. And we appreciate you listening to this podcast, so we have an exclusive offer for you. You will get 15% off registration. Again, that's 15 off registration for the conference if you go to publishinguniversity.org and use promo code IBPA podcast. Again, that's IBPA podcast. It's all one word. Use it during checkout and you're going to get 15% off. All right. We look forward to seeing you at the conference. Now back to the show. Yeah, well, so I wanted to ask you about, because I know a lot of our independent publisher and author publisher members, they have great difficulty getting the free trade reviews. So Publishers Weekly, Kirkus, not actually Kirkus isn't free for any publishers, for author publishers. So anyway, there's a lot of these, they have the free version and then a paid version. So I just want to ask, about that concept, because it seems like the big 5 publishers kind of get priority. Do you know anything about that whole concept where, they're the difficulty of getting the free one versus having to pay for it?
Yeah. Like Forward Magazine, that's a magazine for small presses, independent presses. So I know that you can try them and see if they'll take you. But if you want a sure thing, then Forward offers a paid service. And, when we first started, maybe 12 or 13 years ago, paid reviews was kind of a controversial topic. People were like, well, that's not legitimate. They're not going to write critical reviews if people are paying for their reviews. Well, now, I think everybody's realizes that's not true. Our website has hundreds and thousands of reviews on it, and probably half of them are negative or were mixed. So I think that we've laid to rest that paid reviews aren't legitimate, at least from prominent sources. So Yeah, I mean, so paid review would be a sure thing. It's also expensive, so that's that. But you can also waste a lot of time sending your book out to these trade publications. I don't think, also a lot of these trade publications now have venues for self-published books. So Publishers Weekly does, Forward does, Booklist Magazine uses our reviews in their magazine. So I don't think you're going to get too far without paying as an independent indie publisher. I don't think you're going to get too far without paying for a trade review. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because I did want to ask about the legitimacy of paid reviews, because I think sometimes there's some confusion when the concept of you paid for it. I think people are like, well, isn't the bookseller or the librarian going to know that I paid for this? But I think you hit on the really important point, which is the people that you have reviewing these. So for example, let's take like Publishers Weekly, the paid Book Life. Some of those are the same reviewers that do the free versions. It's just that they literally get so many submissions, they can't do all of the books for free. So they have this Book Life set up for author publishers and indie publishers, and it's the same reviewers. It's just now you happen to pay for it, and so it seems that booksellers and librarians, like you said, know that. They know that and this is then also the annoying thing for some publishers is they're like, wait, I just paid $450 for a negative review, and you're like, well, but that's the point, is that if you paid for a obviously like 100% great review, well then no one's going to take it seriously. So that's kind of the toss up there.
Yeah, exactly. And we have listed on our site little bios of our reviewers, so you can see that they're super credible. And I think at this point there's no argument that these aren't legitimate reviews. People have used them, but I mean, if you're an independent author, you should check to see who are these reviewers if you can. Are they people you would respect? Would you respect their opinion? And also, you have to remember that publishers pay a lot of money to they send free copies of books out all over the place. You're going to have to invest the same way that a publisher invests in order to get what you need to market your book. It's not going to be cheap, but you could also send your book out to 100 different places and get no reviews at all. And you're stuck with the amount you paid for postage and the book itself and, your time and effort. So, I'm not sure I answered your question, but I do think that paid reviews, it's no longer a controversy. I think librarians and booksellers understand the whole situation. Yeah. There's just so many self-published books out there. And this is one way to help authors show that their book has been vetted by somebody who's objective and expert.
Yeah, and I think the important thing that we want to point out is there are a lot of paid reviews out there, but we're talking about the ones that are these major companies, trade publications, that have a paid review. We're not just saying, yeah, any paid review, go out and pay for it. Do your research. I mean, IBPA's website has, and I'll list them later, but we have multiple major trade publications that we have discounts on, and those are trusted, ones that you can go for. I mean, I can even mention some. So we have BlueInk Review, obviously. We have a great discount, $75 off. Forward Reviews, Clarion Reviews, Publishers Weekly Book Life Reviews, the ABA's Advanced Access Program, and Indie Reader. So any one of those through our website, you get a discount, and then also that they're like legitimate major publications that are trusted from booksellers and librarians and all the people that are going to be buying your book. And that's the important thing here, that you're not just shelling out money to just anyone that kind of comes your way.
Right. And I should mention that BlueInk and Forward, we have a 2-review package where you can get a discount on 2 reviews, one from each of us. But yeah, I mean, there have been all kinds of controversy about Amazon reviews, and people at one point were paying to get great reviews on Amazon. Those kind of schemes tend to get uncovered, I think, pretty fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we kind of hit on this, but I want to definitely go into more detail. There is a chance that the review is going to be bad. So what do you do with a bad review? I know some of the places like Kirkus will hide the bad review. They won't syndicate it. So, but if they don't, or even if maybe they do, is there still a reason you should make it public? And what can you get out of a bad review?
Yeah. Well, what always comes to mind is the first thing not to do. So a while ago, it was quite a while ago, there was a woman who got a review, and the review said that her grammar was terrible and her spelling was terrible and the book was kind of incomprehensible. And she got really angry and she started complaining all over social media. And then she got piled on because her emails were non-grammatical and not spelled correctly. So I always think that's kind of funny. But so the first thing to do is not go with your immediate reaction and try to, complain about your review. It's not a good look when you're out complaining about your review. It makes you look lesser.
Am I allowed to cry? Can I?
You can cry in the privacy of your own room.
Oh, great. I already do that. So great. Okay.
But I think the best thing is take a deep breath, put the review away for a little while, kind of absorb the shock, then go back to the review, because usually most reviews will have at least a line that you can use in some way. So, it's like those old movie ads that used to be like, great, like quotes around great or excellent. You take what you can from the review and make lemonade out of lemons. So, you can use ellipses to make a line, to connect ideas that make your book sound good. But, if all comes to naught and you can't even do that, then you need to look at that review and very carefully consider what's being said. So maybe you totally disagree, and that's fair, and it's only one person's opinion. So you have to keep that in mind and, don't take it to heart so much, but try to learn from it. So we get a lot of comments from people that say, we didn't really like the review, but I learned from it and my next book is much better, so you learn from it. And one thing I will say is that self-publishers tend to show their books to their family and their friends, and the family and friends love that person, and so they don't want to hurt their feelings. So they almost uniformly say, oh, this is great. I love your book. I have the perfect anecdote about that. I had a friend whose friend gave her a book that they had written that was self-published, and they were going to have a book signing. And my friend Lori, she said, oh my God, what am I going to say? This book is terrible. And I don't know, we talked about it. And then she went to the book signing. So later I said, well, what did you say? And she said, oh, I said it was terrific. So, that's what you get from family and friends. So you have to use this book review as a completely objective source that's going to be honest with you. And that's really valuable. How do you improve your work when you're going down the line when people are just telling you it's great and they don't really mean it? So discount what family and friends tell you and take a very serious look at what's being said in the review. And then if you've got more than one review, maybe you'll get a consensus of what people think is wrong with your book. Or maybe you'll get somebody else that says it's great. I don't have problems like any of the ones that were mentioned in the other review. And then you can discount the outlying reviews.
Yeah. And unlike all the other authors, my mom said my book's great, and she was right? I mean, she wasn't wrong. I mean,
exactly. Your mom, okay. You can't trust your mom. Who can you trust?
Okay. All right, good. Yeah, I hear you.
Did you have people do that with your book, Christopher? Did you show your book to friends?
So I did both. I mean, I showed it to people that I trust, but the thing is, you have to have people that you trust that will give you genuine feedback too, So I always find that when you have people that will give you helpful feedback without attacking you, I mean, criticism it's a fine art, really, I like to do it too. I'll read things and I'll tell people, here's what I think you can fix, but I don't tell them you're a terrible writer or, it's like there are ways to help them improve without being mean about it. And So I think that you have to find those people that will be honest without being mean to you, because the last thing you want is to get a review and to go, well, I guess I shouldn't be a writer. Like that's terrible, because we, as writers, you can always improve. So, I run the IBPA NetGalley program, and of course some of the books get negative reviews, and I feel terrible for the publishers and the authors, because I genuinely want everyone to love their book, and sometimes they also get very hurt and kind of lash out, and so then I'll just have a conversation with them, and normally by the end of it they feel better. But I think there's that initial feeling of, I put my heart into this book and someone said it's not good. It's almost like they don't like me. And so you kind of have to help them understand, you're a great person, and it's not, they literally just might not like this genre, or maybe that person's not a good, maybe they're not a good person, and they just wanted to be mean, or, whatever it is, but you can't take it too personally each time.
Right. I mean, even great writers have gotten terrible reviews. I mean, Jack Kerouac's On the Road got slammed in a lot of places, really negative reviews. So, yeah, you should never just say, oh, I'm done. You use it to learn and move forward.
So with the book reviews, let's say someone sent in a book to BlueInk review, and let's say they got a negative review. Can people send in the same book again to get another review, or is it one and done?
We are just one and done, because, we don't want to be in the business of having someone submit a book just hoping for a good review. That's just not a good game to play. We will re-review books sometimes if there's a new ISBN and it has had significant changes, but we'll send it to a different reviewer, and we will take the initial review off. Usually that's under the understanding that, the initial review will go away and this will be the new review. So I'm not sure what other people's policies are on that, but, we don't want to be in the position of just making money off of people just hoping to get a good review. I don't feel good about that,
Sure. Yeah, sure. And I know, like, Kirkus, I know you cannot, and I'm pretty sure that's kind of standard, but I wanted to clarify that for the listeners. So, okay, so you are a co-founder of BlueInk Review. Anything you can tell us about it? I would love to help send people, to get it. Again, IBPA members get a discount, $75 discount. So yeah, tell us about BlueInk Review.
Well, we started BlueInk Review about 13 years ago. I was book editor at the Rocky Mountain News in Denver. The paper went under in 2009, and I was sort of like, oh my God, what am I going to do? It was really a scary time. And at that time, I was contacted by somebody who's a literary agent here, and she said, we should plan a business. And so she got together one of her friends, which is my partner, another Patti also, and we started talking, and eventually the first person sort of dropped off, but we had this idea, and partly it was based on when I was book review editor at the paper. A lot of times I get calls from people and they'd go, well, I just printed my book and I need a review. And I'd say, well, I'm getting 250 books from major publishers a week here in my office, and a lot of them are like, major authors that I can't ignore. And we didn't have any of the staff to vet self-published books, because no one's really interested in a self-published book unless it's really terrific. You're not going to write reviews and print them in your limited space of self-published books that aren't great. So anyway, so I felt that there was a real need for this kind of service. And my partner, Patti, she's a literary agent, and we got together and we just got started. I used a lot of reviewers that I had used at the Rocky Mountain News. Then I got a lot of reviewers from the National Book Critics Circle. A lot of people were really interested, good, solid reviewers. And we've just been growing ever since. We've really, I at first I was worried. I was worried that maybe there wouldn't be reviewers who would want to spend their time reviewing self-published books, because a lot of them, to be honest, are not very well edited. They're not copy edited. Sometimes we've gotten books that have no paragraphs, really hard to read sometimes. So, but I found that people were really interested in they wanted to help, basically, and they wanted to help people understand where their books went wrong and where they were right. And anyhow, so we've just been growing ever since. We've almost done 10,000 reviews over our time, and we're really proud. We just built it up from the ground up, and we get lots of testimonials from people. We get lots of complaints from people who aren't satisfied with their review, but generally it's what I told you, that they're just hurt and they want to lash out, which I understand.
And you all do independently published books as well as like author publishers, like self-published books, right?
Mm-hmm. We started self-published because that seemed to be the biggest need, and Kirkus was doing it. Paid Service Forward started it, and then Kirkus kind of did it as in the back of their website. It was really even hard to find these reviews. So we thought, well, we're going to celebrate self-published books, and that's what we're going to do. And that's how we started. But as time went on, just recently, we thought, well, we might as well offer it to publishers as well, because with all the book review services, all the book review pages kind of disappearing nationally, in newspapers and places where there used to be a robust book review section, publishers are also looking for, ways to get reviews. So now, we've opened it up to both.
Great. Well, this has been very helpful. There's a lot to cover with this, and I know it's something that people sometimes are a little confused about. So I hope this enlightened them on it. And I'm greatly appreciative for you. I know you've been in the business quite some time, and so thanks for sharing, all your expertise on it. So again, we have a BlueInk review discount as well as all the other ones I mentioned. So go to IBPA-online.org and you can check them out. And then also, we want to make sure that you subscribe to this podcast. So new episodes drop the last Thursday of every month. So check them out on YouTube, but then also everywhere you normally get your podcasts. Patti, it was wonderful chatting with you. I really appreciate it. And and thanks again for providing this member benefit. It is really helpful to have access for any publishers and author publishers to a trusted trade review. So we really genuinely appreciate it.
Oh, you bet. Thanks for having me, Christopher.
Yeah.